All right. Hello, everybody. We're just going to give us another minute or so here to let everybody join us from the waiting room. We'll try to start pretty promptly right at 10 Central Time. All right. Looks like we've got most everybody from the waiting room in here now. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for another webinar with Plexus International. Today, our topic is quality culture and the ISO DIS 9001 2025 highlights. Please join me in welcoming our host, our guest speaker today. Marcus Vivone is the Director of International Development. He's an IATF Master Trainer, an IAQG Master Trainer, Learning and Examination Processes Lead Designer, a Supply Chain and Continuous Improvement Lead Designer, and he has a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Sao Paulo, with a focus on how change agents drive continuous improvement in the automotive industry. I'll let Vivone take over and cover our agenda for today.
Yes, welcome everybody. A good day. Some of you are in North America, some of you are not in North America. So good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Our schedule today is to cover particularly the focus on quality culture. So we're going to provide a big picture of where we are in the ISO 9001 revision very quickly. Then we are going to focus most of our time in quality culture, and we have two key topics here because quality culture is a big change in the new ISO draft standard, ISO 9001 draft standard. So we're going to talk a little bit about quality culture, and then we're going to think about how can we embed quality culture into our organizational processes. So we have a detailed agenda there, but the big picture will be, this is a key change. What does this mean? And how can I apply this to improve my performance? So basically, those are the two key topics for today. An important disclaimer is that ISO 9001 is at the draft stage, and right now we cannot guarantee that the quality culture will stay valid in the final publication standard. There are chances, but we just want to make this big disclaimer: quality culture is likely, but is not guaranteed to remain in the final publication of ISO 9000. So right now we're talking about the key changes in the draft when we compare to the ISO 9000 2015. And one of the key changes is the idea of quality culture.
Great. All right. We are going to start off with a really short poll here. I'm going to launch that right now. You should see that on your screen. Our first poll only has 2 questions. We just want to get to know a little bit more about our audience today. So our first question is, how important is a strong quality culture to support your organization's QMS performance and effectiveness? And then the second question is, how would you rate the strength of your organization's current quality culture? This is just a really nice way so we can understand what kind of people we have in our audience. And while everybody is answering that, I just wanted to take the time to let you know that there will be, at the end of this session, some time for some Q&A. So if you have any questions about the presentation while it's going on, please feel free to utilize that Q&A session at the bottom. I'll be back at the end of this webinar to help moderate that and get some of your questions answered. So we've got some good participation here. I'll let another couple seconds go by so we can try to get as many answers as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and end this poll and then share our results. So it looks like a vast majority of you said that a strong quality culture is either very important or critical within your organization. And then rating the strength of your organization's current quality culture, we got moderate and strong as the most answers, but it does look like some people are struggling a little bit. So this should hopefully be some great discussions for you guys. So I am going to hide myself here a little bit. I'm going to let Vivone take over, and I will see you guys all at the end of the webinar for that Q&A.
Thanks, Maddie. All right. Okay, let's start with the ISO DIS 9001 2025. So ISO released this draft international standard couple of weeks ago, and we are right now considering the ISO publication process. We are in the inquiry stage. So the draft is getting feedbacks. The idea is to finalize this feedbacks, gathering these feedbacks this year. Obviously, ISO has their own criteria. 75% of approving votes are needed for the draft international standard to pass to the next stage. We have a couple of due dates or milestones, and we'll have a meeting. ISO will have a meeting in Mexico in January next year. By March, they will probably resolve all the comments, and the target or the aim for publication is September 2026. So this is really the big picture, just reinforcing the message. This is a draft standard. It's not the final new ISO 9001. It is at the this stage, the draft international standard stage. Now, one of the key changes in this draft is the concept of quality culture, and that's our focus of the day. So if we look to this draft international standard, from the draft, we have here a couple of statements that are really our starting point to think about what is this quality culture, what they're trying to achieve here, right? So they start with leadership, right? On clause 5.1, if you remember, is all about the top management, the senior leadership of the organization really have demonstrate commitment to quality. But they insert a particular text here in the draft standard saying that they need to promote quality culture. Okay, so what is promote quality culture, right? In the environment of operations of processes, they say that several factors, affect the environment for the operation of processes. And one of these factors is the quality culture. So we need to consider how quality culture affect the environment for running our processes. And when we talk about process, remember, for those of you that in the manufacturing industry, we are not talking about production processes, we are talking about organizational process in general. And they also talk about the awareness, employees, persons doing the work under the organization's control, becoming aware of what is our quality culture. Okay, so this is basically a summary of clauses that are making reference to quality culture. So in 5.1, you see leadership. They're basically saying, how a plant manager, for example, will make decisions in a daily basis that will support quality culture, right? How in 7.1.4, the environment, how the materials storage are aligned with contamination control. So we demonstrate that we are taking care of the work environment to promote quality. On the awareness, we think we see people that live the quality policy in a daily basis. They matter about quality. They stop producing non-conforming products and so on, right? So those are the three key drivers there. So leadership commitment, consider your process and how the quality culture is a key factor when running this process, and how people are aware of quality culture in a daily basis to make wise decisions. Now, remember that ISO 9001 baseline terminology comes from ISO 9000. And ISO 9000 has a couple of definitions that will be very nice for us to reflect on. ISO 9000 is also under revision, is the draft international standard together with ISO 9001. And what they say, what's the definition of quality culture? Their definition is that the organizational quality culture refers to shared values, beliefs, history, attitudes, and observed behaviors of people within the organization, right? So let's slow down a little bit. Let's try to understand what are these 5 elements of quality culture. So we have shared values, right? What people collectively agree that is important, okay? So if you think about in a welding operation, a welding manufacturing, for example, people think that it's important to keep the cleanliness of the facility. That's a shared value, right? A shared belief is what people believe that to be true, right? So people would believe that you can't skip any operation. You must follow the process. That's a belief. What's the history? What's the shared history? So we have lessons learned about never bypass final inspection, never bypass non-destructive testing. So that's our history. You see, those elements are building up as a way to integrate quality culture in the way we run our business, our processes. And obviously, we have more hidden elements such as attitudes, right? How we feel and react about quality issues, right? Um, in observed behaviors, that is the most easy one, what we see there, what people are really doing, right? The behavior, right? So quality culture is a combination of these 5 elements according to the ISO 9000 definition. But it's nice that they say also that quality culture is reinforced, meaning the implication here is something that we leave, but we need to reinforce. Doesn't matter if you have a strong quality culture in the past, if you start drifting your leadership from a quality culture mindset, quality culture will start to drift and you start to having more quality issues in your facility. And the reason for that is the daily behavior of leadership and all employees reinforce the quality culture. That's another important topic. It's not something that is static, it's a dynamic process. And a critical point, according to this definition, is the evidence of top management commitment. Wow, that's really critical. It's all about the leadership, is walk our talk, is the idea of don't tell me, show me that quality is important in a daily basis, in your daily job, when doing and dealing with customers, suppliers, employees. So leadership is critical here. So the 5 elements, the reinforced aspects of the daily behavior is all about discipline and also the leadership commitment. But they also say part of their definition is that quality culture has this element of future, of the ideal. Think about a compass, right? We don't have a perfect quality culture, perfectly and very strong. We want to improve the strength of our quality culture. So what we aspire as an organization, where we aim to be in the future. And so we usually will see in organizations statements, mission statements, vision statements, value statements, that is really the aspiration aspect of quality culture. But understand, it's walk our talk, but we need to talk. We need to say what is quality culture for us. We need to say what we want to achieve in the future, not only in terms of the objectives, the outcomes, but also the means that you're going to achieve those objectives. Now, culture in ISO 9000, the definition of culture is integrated these 5 elements. Integrating, meaning in your organization, we have several stakeholders, not only customers. By integrating culture, the ISO 9000 is saying, look to your customer as a stakeholder, but also look to your employees, to your suppliers, to the ownership, to the stock market, to the regulatory agency. So consider the expectations in the organizational context when you establish your quality policy aspirations, right? So here is the integration of every stakeholder and interested party requirements and expectations. Now, if we look to these 5 elements of quality culture, we can think about these 5 elements as some elements are more visible than others, right? The level of visibility, obviously, observed behaviors, we can see this in a daily basis, right? What people do, what people actually do. Do they follow process? Do they speak up about concerns? Do they fix problems? Do they treat customers and colleagues with proper respect and integrity? So daily behaviors, right? History. History is something that is less visible, uh, but is the idea of the lessons learned. But remember, we may learn the right lessons, but we may learn the wrong lessons. So the idea of history is the idea of what we learn that is shaping our habits, right? How the organization has made decisions in the past, how we solve problems, how we reacted to issues over time, right? So our history influences our habits and we influence eventually the outcome, the quality of our products and services. But the most hidden piece of the quality culture is the third one is shared values, beliefs, and attitudes, right? Is what people agree in their hearts, in their minds. They don't say, but they agree. This is what good quality looks like. This is how quality is really important for us. This is how we deal with the trade-offs when we need to make a decision to put the customer in risk and fulfill the scheduling or stop delivery because we have a quality incident or a quality risk. Okay, so think about these 5 elements as as 5 different dimensions of quality culture based on the ISO 9000 definition. Now, think about this, we can exemplify. We can think about the transparent elements, right? What we can see easy, observed behaviors, what people do, especially what people do under pressure. Now, if you look to this balance scale metaphor here, on the left side, you see strong quality culture. On the right side, you see weak quality culture. Think about this as a continuum, right? It's not right or wrong. It's not, 0 or 1. There is a continuum here. And what is going the left side to a strong quality culture is the idea of stop non-conforming processes. So I can see this is happening in my organization. I can see that people will stop if there is a risk to the customer. I can see that any non-conformity, the containment action is very robust in our organization. So we stop non-conforming processes. Another example, we raise concerns without fear. If something is wrong, we say something is wrong, something is missing, something is not conforming here, something is suspect here. So we really deal with transparent and truth. Now, on the right side, you see the opposite. We hide problems. We sweep under the rug our problems. Or under pressure, we just make things look good on paper, but when they are not good, right? A strong quality culture, for example, people stop a process if something looks wrong, raise concerns without fear, follow procedures, proactively help colleagues to solve quality issues. That's a strong quality culture demonstration. That's the observed behavior. What is a weak one? Well, example, operators work around procedures, hit numbers, stay quiet when there are issues. They feel the pressure to make metrics look good rather than to deal with honesty with quality problems. That's the observed behaviors. That's the visible, the most transparent element of quality culture. Now, we also have translucent elements, a little bit blurry elements that we can see, but we cannot have, the level of detail and distinction there. And one of these elements are elements related to the history because it happened in the past. So if we just show up today, we cannot see immediately the history. But after a little bit investigation, we can determine how the history is shaping the habits that we see, the observed behaviors. For example, again, the same idea of the balance scale. On the left side, you see knowledge sharing. People share their knowledge. People change processes. People have problems as learning opportunities. On the right side, you see lack of follow-up. There is no knowledge sharing. It's just problems happen, they appear, disappear, gone. Band-aid, symptom treatment. We just do containment, right? Or blame and fix instead of really learning opportunities. So that's not so transparent. You can see the behavior before, but you can not understand why this is happening. So that those are the habits that employees and teams and leaders, they learn over time. And the history is a big deal when we think about quality culture. This example here, we have had quality problems in the past. We treated them as learning opportunities. We analyze root causes. We change our process. That's a strong quality culture. A weak quality culture will be when quality problems happen, we find someone to blame. We fix the symptom just enough to move on and hope it doesn't come back. That's a weak quality culture based on our wrong lessons learned. Huh? Now, the most challenging elements of the quality culture obviously are the invisible one, things that we cannot see. When we see is observed behavior or maximum a little bit history habits formed based on the history, but the invisible elements are very powerful. And here again, people don't say, but that's their attitude, that's their belief. Quality over speed. That's a strong quality culture. Speed over quality. There's a weak quality culture, right? Customer first approach. Custom-driven first approach. So you see, there are trade-offs that are built on these assumptions, underlying assumptions that we don't see immediately. We don't see if we spend the time. We need to really drill deep in to understand where people are coming from to behave the way they're behaving towards quality. Again, some examples. Strong quality culture around here. Everyone believes that doing it right for the customer comes before speed or convenience. A weak quality culture. We say quality matters, but everyone knows that shipping on time and keeping costs down is what really counts. Okay. Now, as you can imagine at this moment, you see, okay, I understand. Okay, ISO 9001 is moving, is driving organizations to think about how quality culture, commitment by leadership, considering quality culture in the operation of processes, and bringing awareness to all employees about quality culture. But okay, don't tell me, show me what I need to do. And in order to answer this question, we need to first think about what we see, what types of incidents are really behind quality culture issues. We call these incidents, and we have this pyramid very aligned with the safety concepts of near misses, unsafe condition, unsafe behavior. So before a safety issue happen, there are signals in the organization. The same idea we can apply for quality culture. So what we see, we can hear comments and feelings. early signs of cultural issues, right? We can see behavior misalignment, shortcuts, workarounds. Now, we can see more clearly near misses, almost escape to the customer, problems caught just in time. Obviously, the most visible pieces are quality incidents and quality crisis, disruptions and so on. Let me give an example here. So suppose you are working with the contract review process. You get customer requests for quotes, and you need to do your reviews, and you need to provide a quote to your customer. Suppose you are dealing with this process. Now, this pyramid of incidents will be something like this. Suppose in this process, people comment things like this. We have a contract review checklist, but in reality, we just skim through it to sign off. So basically, they're saying this is just paperwork. Okay? This is the type of incident that is demonstrating something really wrong is happening there. We don't see the consequences yet, but we can see that this type of mindset will eventually generate a quality issue and a quality crisis. Or behavior. We see sales accept customer requirements without checking feasibility, right? Behaviors, right? Or near misses. Engineering warns that the design margin for fatigue life is too low. The team initially considers accepting it, but pauses the quote and escalates the risk to top management and the customer for review before proceeding. That's a good one, right? But it's a near miss. Why is a near miss? Because, we warned the design margin for fatigue life was too low, right? And the team initially accepted it. But then before releasing the design, before releasing or validating the PPAP, they say, no, I think we need to escalate this to the customer, right? Near misses. Obviously, the last two is what we can see every day, sometimes every day in the newspaper, right? Especially the quality crisis. Quality incidents, internal non-conformities. So, for example, internal non-conformity revealing that a special reliability requirement in the customer specification was missed because the full contract review procedure was not followed. So we have a contract review procedure, but they're not following. That's a quality incident because this was a non-conformity finding in the internal audit. And the worst case scenario is when there are escapes and quality issues, they reach the end user or your customer. So the recall is traced to a contract review decision that put profitability ahead of non-quality risks, okay? So first part of this presentation, we try to cover here quality culture. We try to exemplify the 5 elements of quality culture, and we try to exemplify 5 typical incidents. Now, this is not a comprehensive list. You can find several other ways to where the quality culture can be demonstrated or not. But this is just an initial insights for us to think about, okay, I understand quality culture. They have several elements, at least 5. And I understand the incidents that can demonstrate how strong is the quality culture in my organization. But how do I embed this into my processes? That's the question that we will try to answer in the next 30 minutes. So how to embed quality culture in our processes? That's a challenge question. Each organization will have their own way, but we have a couple of clues, a couple of tips if you really pay attention to some core requirements in ISO 9000. So the first one is really back to the basics, okay? Think about quality principles, quality policy, and quality objectives. So in general, how we apply this? We know quality principles are the principles around ISO 9001 was written. So a key principle regarding this topic is the customer focus, is to understand customer requirements, anticipate customer expectations, taking into consideration their requirements when you're developing our processes, and taking into consideration their requirements also when we are formulating our quality policy and quality objectives. So we have this principle that's generic from the standard, and then we materialize this principle in our quality policy. Okay, so suppose this is the quality policy of your organization. Okay, we are dedicated to ensuring customer satisfaction through timely delivery, strict conformity to product spec. We apply continuous improvement to minimize the cost of poor quality. Okay, so that's our quality policy. Typically, what we say, okay, we know that the quality policy must provide a framework for setting quality objectives. So you see, there are some already written requirements in ISO 9001 that are basically driving organizations to translate slogans, translate statements into metrics, into performance indicators. And one of the key requirements is really the clause that talks about quality policy. The quality policy must be deployed or must be built as a framework enabling setting quality objectives. In this case, we can review the quality policy. For this organization, they say, well, we'll have 3 quality objectives. We'll have the external nonconformities to monitor customer satisfaction and on-time delivery. We have the on-time delivery to track the timely delivery element of our quality policy. Conformity to product spec, we also have the external nonconformities, PPM. We have the cost of poor quality as a quality objective in our system. So this is typically what organizations are doing. They are translating their quality policy into quality objectives. Okay? Now, think about this. Quality culture. ISO is bringing quality culture as a new element of this, the basis of our quality management system. And if we apply the same approach, we now need to ask this question. How can we show that we are following our quality policy? That's an old question. How can we demonstrate in our daily behavior that we are applying our quality policy? We are using our quality policy to making decisions and taking actions. Okay? That's the generic question, but we can, deploy 2 different questions. We can say, what do we want people to value? What do we want people to put priority first? And what behaviors do you want to see under pressure? So let's translate our quality policy now into observed behaviors, observed priorities, okay? So for example, we want people to fix causes, not just symptoms. We want to protect the customer over the schedule, okay? Those are typical deployment from the quality policy to observed behaviors. In other words, we need to link quality culture to the quality policy. Why are you saying this? Because this is a baseline requirement, setting quality policies, and from there providing a framework to quality objectives. And now we're bringing this third domain of quality culture. But the quality culture needs to talk with the quality policy and needs to be aligned with the quality objectives. So linking quality culture to the quality policy is one way, not the only way, that organizations can apply to embed this new requirement into their processes. So here's just an example. For example, as we know, quality policy is the responsibility of top management, and top management may decide to translate quality policy into some fundamental values. Top management models expected behaviors through the organization by taking visible actions consistent with our quality policy. So this is an example. Okay, it's not written in the standard. It's just one example, one approach that your organization may take to apply to demonstrate quality culture as a requirement effectively implemented. So suppose they translate quality policy now to these values, and they pick 7 values. So focus from price-driven to quality-driven. Quality from inspection to build. Investment in quality from minimal support to strategic resourcing. Recognition from quantity to quality. Discipline from ad hoc to plan it and follow. Openness from silence to challenge and dialogue. Problem solving from firefighting to root cause driven. So this is one way to do. So again, going back, you have your quality policy that you're deploying to your objectives. Now you may have another question, say, hey, how can we translate our quality policy into observed behaviors? And these behaviors will be based on the core values of our organization. Now, when you describe these core values of the organization regarding your quality policy, you are basically setting a framework that will enable you to measure the strength or to evaluate the strength of your quality culture. Now, in the next slide, I'm going to show you, based on this organization example, if they decided that these 7 aspects here, the 7 values here that are derived from the quality policy are the critical for this organization at this time, they may now ask for each process owner how we are doing in terms of focus, how we are doing in terms of quality, how we are doing in terms of investment, how we are doing in terms of recognition, and so on. And each process owner will have observed behaviors, history, shared values, beliefs, and a process to evaluate and to describe what's really going on. Okay? Now, this could be structured in a variety of ways, and here's again is just an example. Okay, what we call quality culture strength index. What is the quality culture strength index? It's a kind of combined gap analysis based on your quality policy. So remember, we derived the quality policy into some values. And now for each one of these values, we are now asking how we're doing, what's happening at the process level. So here, for example, the first one was quality-driven versus price-driven. In the contract review process, you may see behaviors and you may see incidents. So here, 2 columns are just showing behaviors, near misses, and actual issues happening. So suppose for the contract review, you have this in the last quarter or year, you have, this is a summary of your investigation as the process owner of the contract review process. Well, if we don't match their target price, we'll lose the business. You hear that. People share this. Beyond that, you see issues. You see that we are in a new business hold status because we did not allocate proper budget for a new product introduction. Now, you see that both the idea of price over quality and poor allocation of budget for new product introduction, both are showing that we have a weak quality culture regarding this value in the contract review process. Now, when we identify the gap, and we can summarize the gap as a price mindset, now we are ready to say what I need to do. What we need to do in terms of improving our documentation system, improving our systems, in training our people. Again, this is just an example. They may say, well, we don't need to change a lot of documents and systems, but we need to train people that this mindset is not acceptable. We need to be to reinforce the message. We need to engage leadership in difficult conversations, why we're doing this, why you believe this, right? So maybe that's one of your action plan here. And obviously the index here, suppose I index 1, 3, and 5, weak, moderate, and strong quality culture to make it simple. When you observe this, you say, okay, in this sense, the value number 1, focus, is level 1. We are really weak here. Same thing for value number 2. What is quality for us? Is building or inspection? So supposing, again, in the contract review process, you see no structure feasibility review, new product introduction delays due to lack of customer testing specification review. This should be reviewed during contract review. But we're just putting, again, inspection is instead of building, instead of having a robust feasibility analysis. Now, what's the gap? Inadequate feasibility analysis. Now, for this, in order to embed this aspect in our process, we need to review our procedure. And we need to understand capacity issues, right? We need to escalate this to top management. Maybe don't have proper laboratory, proper machines, proper tryouts, proper systems to calculate cost and allocate budget. A variety of factors may be causing this, but the issue is we do have a gap in our feasibility analysis. And obviously we need to train. And this will also be considered a weak quality culture. For support, suppose you don't have any findings in the last quarter or year. Again, this is just an example. You can, as a process owner, you can run this as a monthly review, a quarter review. There is no prescription at this moment in the standard for that, but obviously is expected for management to review how they're doing in terms of their quality culture strength. Quality-based recognition. So suppose sales team get bonus for booking, for getting the deal, but no consequences if down the road during design or during manufacturing or during servicing, there are issues that could be or should be identified during the contract review. Again, the incentive system, the performance review is silo. That's the gap. And that's a moderate one. Suppose the organization called, this is a moderate one, but we need to combine or factor also customer-driven performance when we deal with salespeople in the contract review process. Okay, and this would be a moderate. And suppose for the other ones we have everything good. So this index is a kind of trying to translate these behaviors, these observations into a metric. And each organization may have a variety of metrics. This is just an example. The quality culture strength index in this process will be 72%, right? We could make 40 points. We made 29. We are at the level 72.5%. And this is our KPI to demonstrate quality culture, how we're monitoring our quality culture. Quality culture monitoring as a process. Think about quality culture as a process, and now what's the input? The input is what we desire. What is the expected quality culture? And the output will be the desired quality culture is effectively implemented. We can observe. Now, during implementation of this requirement, you can set up this process to ensure that top management is aware, is committed to translate words into actions, and this commitment is going beyond just the slogans, the role model, the behaviors. But at some point you need to measure. And again, we are using our old friend, the turtle diagram. And the turtle diagram, remember, we ask, measure, how, what, and who. We usually start talking about measure. How do I measure that the quality culture in my organization is effectively implemented? Well, I can set up some KPIs, such as the quality culture strength index for each process. We just review one here, okay? Or the overall quality culture strength index for the entire organization. We can measure the percentage of improvement actions implemented within the defined time frame. Remember, every time you have a gap analysis, you have corrective actions. You have improvement actions, okay? So how we're doing in terms of implementing the actions to address the gaps. And obviously, we can always measure quality culture by the final uh, uh, incidents, okay? Now, how? Linking quality culture to the quality policy, okay? You just see an example here, linking quality culture to the quality policy, how you translate this to the quality policy. Ethical behavior, quality gap analysis, and so on. So we have a variety of potential procedures, methods that we are using to implement the quality culture. What is the ethical behavior? Is the portal, the organizational culture portal, the non-conforming management system, who, top management, process owners, and eventually customers. Okay? So that's the quality culture monitoring as a process. Now, how to evaluate quality culture? What are my next steps? Think about this as what are 4 steps going forward? What we recommend. Okay, first of all, we recommend establishing a clear leadership role when implementing a new quality culture process, new requirements to support a quality culture change in your organization. What we call guardians, leadership. What we're calling guardians. They role model in each process what is the expected behavior. They address early warning signals. The quality culture guardians, they also act as a two-way bridge between top management and the team members. They flow down, yes, expected behaviors, but they also raise concerns and ask for resources and escalate issues to top management. So leadership is the very first step. Then we define the desired culture. We define what we expect in each process. So again, variety of ways, but linking the quality culture to the quality policy is one clear path that is aligned with the standard. For each process, we can say what we want people to value, what behaviors do you want to see under pressure, and that's your desired quality culture. The current quality culture, again, you do a gap analysis, you compare observed behavior with your desired behavior. Again, you can have surveys, you can have audits, you can have the process owner observations, and so on, a variety of methods to monitor the quality culture. And then you understand where are the gaps. When we understand where are the gaps, we are ready to identify the actions that are necessary. Now, to improve quality culture is not so easy because quality culture is not organizational climate, if you will. It's not the mood of the organization. It's not easy to change. Quality culture requires transformational efforts because we learned this from our history. We learned this with the founders of the organization. We learned this over the last decade working in this organization. So it's not a change, it's really more transformational effort. And so we need to align documentation, systems, a lot of people efforts, awareness, engagements, conversations. We simplify here training, but it's not really training. It's everything that is related to human relations and conversations and openness to understand why we are behaving the way we are behaving in some circumstances, especially under pressure. Okay. So as we identify these gaps and we implement actions, we need to update the systems, we need to update the procedures, the documented information, and we need to make people aware. This is a collective effort, cannot be just a top-down, need to be really using an engagement approach. Obviously, is an ongoing, is a PDCA, and evaluating quality culture will require to go back and say how we are doing in terms of our leadership, role modeling the right behaviors under pressure, and this is an ongoing cycle. Now, final words about the leaders. You remember that at the very beginning, we talked about leadership, top management leadership as the core clause requiring promotion of quality culture. So let's just think a little bit, what do we understand about these leaders? So we understand that they must be competent. And by competence, we're talking about understanding principles, understanding key clauses applicable to their processes. So they need to have a practical vision of what are the applicable requirements to their processes. They need to understand principles of ethics and integrity and what quality culture is. What are the elements of quality culture and how their processes interact with each other, how they support each other. As a system, we cannot optimize one piece. We need to look to the overall, to the big picture. But they must have also ability to observe, ability to hear, and to detect early signs of misalignments, ability to explain expectations, and to encourage right doing. You see, just one word, promoting quality culture. Think about how important this is for the future of your organization. Lead problem solving and facilitate daily meetings. We don't hide problems. We use problems as opportunities for improvement and for lessons learned. Escalate issues and say no, say stop. That's an ability of leaders, what we are calling guardians of the quality culture. And obviously, personal attributes. Role modeling, calm under pressure, respect and empathy is a lot of soft skills required by the guardians of the quality culture. Again, just before I move to the next poll, I just want to go back to our very first slide and just reinforce the message. It's all about leadership. It's all about understanding our culture. It's all about understanding shared beliefs, shared assumptions, shared history, attitudes. It's a leadership. Is top management observing how we're doing, how we're behaving towards quality. And this is the critical piece of this new change on the ISO 9001. Okay. With that said, I think we have a couple of minutes, some minutes. Mary, if you want to take over.
Yes, absolutely. All right. We just have one more quick follow-up poll here. It's just got one question for you guys. We want to know, what are the main roadblocks to building and sustaining a strong quality culture in your organization? So you can select any that apply to you. We'll just give it a little bit for this. Thank you guys so much for all of the questions that have been filtering in while Vivone has been talking. We'll have a couple minutes here to try to cover a few of those. Looks like we've got a few people answering here. I'll give it another couple of seconds just so we can get some more answers. And we'll end the poll here. And I'll share these results here. So as you can see, it's those main roadblocks are pretty well spread apart, which is interesting. And again, thank you guys for participating in these polls. They do give us really valuable information. So we will move on to our Q&A now, and we'll see what we all have time for. Let's start with our first question here. It says, a large number of organizations follow only the culture of cost reduction driven by the OEMs, and this compromises on the quality culture. What is the solution to this?
Yeah, great question. I think is the most important question. That's the reality check. And what I would say, ISO and again, this is a draft standard. We are not saying that this is solid in rock, probably will be, but there are the voting system and all of that. But with this change, we can promote. Part of my research in my master was islands of excellence in organizations. And what I can say for you is that as leaders, we have a critical role in terms of promoting quality culture in the areas that we can control, but we cannot control everything. And the pressure from the market and from the supply chain, is the automotive supply chain, is the competition is huge. We understand that, but there are daily behaviors that we can role model and incentivize our team members and our peers to adopt. We cannot resolve all the world problems in our organizations, but we can definitely do something. The quality culture strength index that I just shared with you is one way to start this journey. There is this dissonance, this gap between what you want to do and what we're really doing now, and between the ideal state and the current state. Maybe we need to plan baby steps towards the right direction. Very important question, very realistic one. And the beauty of this requirement is now this requirement will empower management to say, let's understand how we're doing. Let's understand our attitudes, our values, and where we are, and let's try to move to the ideal, knowing that in the real world, it is a journey. It's not, one step. It's not implementing something. It's just self-awareness, where we are, face the reality, and what we can do with the constraints that we have right now to move towards this. The quality culture, I would say the quality culture is strength at each process level could be a good starting point for your organization, knowing that you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect right away. You're going to see a lot of gaps, but you can move from 1 to 3. You can move from very weak to moderate, and so on, and keep pushing to continuous improvement. One important piece that I would like to emphasize is the idea that when we look to price in the short term, that's every single serious manager will understand very quick that getting the most in the short term eventually will cost a lot in the long term. So is a management effort, and you can do baby steps, where we are very weak on this value. Let's move to moderate what we need to do, engaging people, changing our documentation, our processes, improving our systems, and we move in the right direction, understanding that we are not there yet, but we are improving our organization.
All right, great. Thank you for that. Let's move on to another question here. Let's see. Just a moment. I'm just trying to filter through what you guys have. There we go. I agree that fostering a mature quality culture is essential. What I'm struggling to understand is how this can be effectively audited, since it seems highly subjective. For example, determining what qualifies as good enough to meet a standard. Could you share your perspective on how this is assessed?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's subjective. It's our job to translate this into objective terms. And I don't believe, and again, this is a drafty standard. I don't believe organizations and third-party auditors will immediately raise non-conformities because they feel that you should be doing this and that. That's not the intention. The intention is, okay, you have your slogans, you have your quality policy. Show me that you're doing. I really think that this is a great opportunity for us to translate slogans, translate mission statements, vision statements into observed behaviors, and making this reality check and understanding the good, the bad, and the ugly, and looking into the mirror and say, yeah, I can improve here. I can improve here. And as far as you have a process, that's the reason we are saying, as far as you have a process to understand and to monitor how quality culture is evolving in your organization, you don't need to fear non-conformities. That's not the intention. ISO is just giving everything here an opportunity to connect the dots. I call behind the scenes, I call this requirement with this statement. Don't tell me, show me. That's the purpose. As far as you're showing, okay, I have a gap here and this is what I'm doing. And this gap is based on what we value, what we think is critical for our business context. You remember, you're not isolated. You have organizational context, you have pressures, external issues, internal issues. And as far as you have a process to understand what's the desired culture, where you are, and what you're doing, there is no way to consider this right or wrong. Okay? If you're looking to quality culture as the key stakeholder is your customer, is to moving to customer satisfaction, no matter what, you're going to succeed in this journey at the end. Don't feel afraid if you have a lot of gaps. I don't think that's the intention of ISO. The intention of ISO is really how can we now demonstrate that observed behaviors are now considered in your quality management system as inputs to improve. That's the key message. Okay.
Great. I know we're running a little bit over, but let's just take time for one more question here. Let's see. Do you think that quality culture is a process as shown in the turtle diagram, or is it more the mindset that drives people to do the right things right, even if nobody is watching?
Yeah. At the end of the day, you're right. At the end of the day, quality culture is a process. I'm doing the right thing no matter what. But remember, then we go back to the previous question. How can we materialize that? How can we institutionalize the effort to understand what's our quality culture and make our quality culture stronger and stronger over time? If we don't set up a process for that, it'll be very hard. It'll be isolated initiatives. But at the end of the day, yes, quality culture is a mindset, is what I do when is looking, right? It's about integrity. It's about don't tell me, show me. But here is just a suggestion, and this is not written in the standard, by the way. We're just providing, we're filling, the blanks here saying, hey, what I need to do. Okay, here's something that you could consider in your organization when quality culture and if quality culture is really confirmed in the final publication. Thanks for the question.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for all of the wonderful questions. We're just going to do some wrap up here just because we know your time is valuable and we don't want to keep you for too long. So let's just get to those. We've got just a final wrap up slide here. If you want to navigate to that for me, Vivone. Perfect. All right, everybody. So you can visit our website at plexusintl.com for our blogs, some tools, and more. Our full catalog is also available there. You can go to our YouTube channel at Plexus INTL. We have all of our previous webinars uploaded there. This one will be uploaded there as all future webinars. And then we're also on LinkedIn at Plexus International, so we can be reached there for any questions or comments as well. So I just want to say thank you guys for attending. Thank you, Vivone, for this presentation and for all the valuable insight. I know a lot of people here appreciated that. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the next webinar when that may be. I just wanted to let you guys know that once this closes out, there will be a very short survey at the end. We would highly appreciate if you just took a couple minutes to answer those questions for us. Really, we're all trying to do this for you and to be as helpful to you guys as we possibly can. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate.
Bye.